Hello and welcome to our webcast today. On today's webcast, we'll be interviewing Richard Lake, owner of USA Income Tax Services, located in Phoenix, Arizona. Richard has been in the income tax preparation industry for over 18 years, and his firm, USA Income Tax Services, has been voted #1 in customer satisfaction by the Arizona Society of Tax Professionals for the last 3 years running. Richard has a degree in accounting from Western Michigan University and an MBA from Western International University. USA Income Tax Services is a full-services income tax preparation firm open year-round. They can be reached at 480-409-0829 or through their website, www.usaincometaxservices.com. And now, I'd like to turn our microphones over to the man we like to call Mr. Webcast, Kirk Ward, to conduct today's webcast.
Well, thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. And today I'm talking with Richard Lake. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kurt. It's good to be here.
Richard, you are a practitioner in somewhere near Phoenix, aren't you? Where exactly are you located? And tell me a little bit about your practice, what you do there.
We are actually located in Phoenix proper, South Phoenix. We're about 2 miles from the south border of Phoenix, and beyond is all Indian Reservation all the way down to Tucson. Our practice here, we've been in this location about 2 years. Prior to that, we were in Northern California for 10 years. Our practice is made up mostly of individual 1040s and smaller businesses, Schedule Cs, or a few people who have become LLCs. But by and large, it's mostly the 1040 dual wage earner families with a side business and a couple of kids, getting ready to go to college, that type of thing.
What's your background before you got started in taxation?
Well, I have my degree in accounting. I actually worked for the Boy Scouts for a number of years. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I kind of gave back to the program and worked for them for about 10 years before I went out into the corporate world. Just prior to starting my own business, I worked for a company called Overhead Door Corporation, makers of roll-up garage doors, and they own Genie garage door openers that everybody's heard of. And I was head of the retail accounting for their 8 retail locations nationwide. And after a number of years doing that, Overhead Door decided to close their retail locations. So as I sold them off, I was working myself out of a job. So at that point, I decided that I wasn't going to work for somebody else. I'd take my knowledge and start my own accounting practice, which I did about 13 years ago. And we've grown it from 0 to about 850 returns a year.
Wow, that sounds pretty good. So you basically started after leaving what most people quantify as the corporate world.
Yeah, that's correct. I was kind of downsized out.
Give me an interesting story about what happened as you started. I know everybody's got a sort of an interesting story about the things they ran into when they started their practice. Tell me some of your war stories.
Probably the biggest, when we first started, we actually purchased a practice in Northern California. It was in a little town called Bernie, which is in far Northern California, up in the mountains, up by Mount Shasta. It's about 45 miles northeast of Redding, California. It's a small town, about 3,000 people, 2 stoplights, 1 grocery store. And probably the most difficult thing was I came in, purchased a practice, and the old accountant that worked there said, he was supposed to work with me for a month. He worked with me about 2 days, took off, and didn't tell anybody. So all the clients came in, and it's like, who are you? So that was my indoctrination to the world of bookkeeping and taxes, and so I spent the first 6 months assuring people that I did know what I was doing and who I was, and all their information was secure, and that was quite an indoctrination to this business.
That sort of sounds about the obverse of what I ran into when I sold my last practice before I retired. And what I did is I gave the guy a 30-day consulting agreement where I'd be there for 30 days to get him oriented. He didn't come in while I was there. After 30 days, I left my wife there to run the practice because we had clients that had to be served, and we had 2 clerks. So they sat there, and he finally came in after 30 days and took over, hired the clerks, and dearly beloved came on, joined me. But he was a new practitioner that decided he didn't need to come in.
Well,
wow.
Okay.
I'm sitting there saying, okay, I don't know what happened to the practice, but I didn't hear real good things about it after I left. And what I'd like to find out right now is, how do people look at you? If you were an outsider, or if you knew what outsiders said about you, what do you think outsiders would say when they try to describe your practice?
I would say we try and strive to be more of a plain-spoken tax practice. And I think a lot of people outside, and a lot of the reasons we get a good amount of referrals is we don't talk the typical CPA tax talk. We bring everything down to language that the normal person can understand. But we also strive to really help people save on their taxes through tax planning. And I think a lot of our clients promote that with their friends, and that's how we're described in referrals. I just got a call for a referral about 15 minutes ago. Some lady from California, one of our clients there, said, yeah, you got to call this dude, even though he's in Arizona. He's a really good guy, and he'll save you a lot of money. And sure enough, she called me, and she's emailing her stuff over. So I think it's our approach of talking to people, not down to people, but in plain English they can really understand what we're doing with their taxes and why we're doing it and how they can save money. I think one of the other things in our practice is I'm the only one that does taxes. So when people talk to me, there's not some clerk in the background doing taxes. I do it all. I do the interview. People come in, sit down. We talk about it. We do their taxes right then and there. Probably one of the biggest things that sets us apart from other practices is the fact that my dogs come to work every day with me. And we have clients that come in, and after they get to know the dogs, it's like, we're Moose and Cooper. I don't want to see you. We're the dogs. I want to pet the dogs. Here's my tax dog. Call me when it's done. We're the dogs. So yeah. The dogs are a big hit with our clients. So.
That's interesting. So that's sort of almost like a marketing tactic, is bring the dogs in and give the people something to pay attention to beside you.
Yeah. Maybe have people bring treats for the dogs and call them on their birthday and that kind of thing.
Interesting. Well, speaking of clients coming in, talk, and personality, can you give me some sort of example of a good client experience? Something that you're really proud of that you did for a client.
We have a couple of really high-end clients and a couple of just excuse me, normal, $70,000-$80,000 a year income clients. And we treat them the same, but when I start talking to the people about how they can save money on their taxes, one of our big pushes is for them to start their own business. And I had a couple that came in that were just getting killed in taxes because they had no kids. Their mortgage interest wasn't really enough to itemize. So they were, even though they were having the most taxes they could have withheld, they were still paying a big chunk. So I started talking to them, trying to get a feel for what they were about, what they'd like to do. And it finally came out that the husband really liked to play golf. So I said, start your own golf school. Start it in your backyard. And you can write off your greens fees and your golf clubs and all those kinds of things, and get shirts made up with your name on them, and be able to write those off as laundry and advertising, and then you can rent out your house and give clinics in your backyard, and so those kinds of things. And once the idea caught, you could just see their eyes just almost bug out of, wow, this is great. How come we never thought of this before? How come the last guy never told us about this? So it ended up being, saving them, instead of paying $2,000 or $3,000, they got a $4,000 refund.
Wow.
So those
I
are the
bet
kinds
that
of things we do. Oh yeah, yeah.
I bet that, yeah, that would really make them happy. Let's talk about how you get clients here for a little bit. Do you use any social media, word of mouth? What type of marketing things? How do people get to find out about you? We're
on the Facebook. We have Twitter. We have a website, but we found our best source of clients come from two ways. One is we do a direct mail campaign with an oversized postcard that has my picture on it that goes out to every house within a 5-mile radius of our office, and we do that once a year, and we probably get a 4 to 5% return on that postcard. The absolute best way is referrals, and we probably gain 10% of our client base new each year just through referrals.
That's amazing.
Because we do things of, talking to people and make sure they're saving on their taxes, and I think our approach, people really like us and find us down to earth. So we get quite a few referrals. We've had people refer 4 and 5 of their friends and their family members, and that's so. As in any practice, you lose 5 to 10% a year just through attrition. People die, move away, whatever. So through our referrals from existing clients, we're able to maintain and even grow a little bit above every year, and that's how we've gotten to where we are now. So I would say word of mouth from our existing clients. When we first started that, we had a $10 spiff for everybody referred, and we've kind of gotten away from that now because it turned out people didn't really care about the $10, even though we sent it out in $2 bills that they would remember it because they'd get 5 $2 bills in the mail. It's kind of grown to the point now where people just refer us because they feel we do a good job and they know that we're going to take care of their friends and neighbors and family members.
Do you do anything like a newsletter or any volunteer work in the community? Do you work with Chamber of Commerce and things like that?
We do a monthly print newsletter to all of our clients, and it's not your typical tax preparer's newsletter. As a matter of fact, outside of tax season, it has very few articles at all about taxes. It has other things that people are interested in, and people really like it. We get a lot of good comments on our print newsletter. We do a weekly email program to all of our clients, and again, that's very little to do with tax outside of tax season, so because nobody wants to hear about taxes in July, but they like the stories and things that come out. Business-wise, we are very active in the Chamber of Commerce. We've been a member for going on 3 years now. I'm head of one of the networking groups at the Chamber, and I've picked up quite a few small business leads through that. Every October we do through the Chamber, they help us promote a tax saving seminar to business owners and residents. We have very few 1040 type people show up, but we get a lot of business owners. and I go through the 10 top mistakes that business owners make on their taxes. And that's been pretty good for us. We've picked up 1 to 2 clients every time we've done that. And going through the chamber, they help us promote it for free, and it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Okay, I'd like to change direction a little bit here now, and I want to get into some technical things. I want you to give our listeners, our viewers, some secrets that they can take away from this. And the first thing we want to do is want to get you mentioned about how people can find you online. What's the name of your website?
Our website is www.usaincometaxservices.com. Okay.
www.usaincometaxservices.com. All one word.
All one word, correct.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about taxes. Now, I believe you said you worked with the chamber, and do you give them presentations? Can you give me a little bit of the type of stuff that you tell people when you're talking to them? Or give me a tip about, what the real reality of the system is. For people who know something and people who don't know something. Explain that a little bit.
Well, we feel that there's really two tax systems in the U.S. There's one for the people that are informed, and one for the people that are uninformed, and that's what we use in our chamber presentations. If you know the tax law or have someone that knows the tax law, there's a lot of gray areas that you can exploit to your own benefit. One example that people don't seem to realize when you have your own business is you can hire your kids as young as 7 years old, and you can pay them up to $5,500 a year, and it's a great tax deduction.
So if you have 2 kids, you got a $11,000 deduction there that doesn't have to be reported on income to the kids, by the kids.
Correct. And there's no Social Security or Medicare taxes owed until they turn 18.
Yeah, okay. What about if the child is in school? Are there anything deductions associated with that?
What we like to say is, if you have kids in school, you're going to spend a lot of money on books or on band, or like one thing that's happening here in Arizona now, one of the local school districts is charging each child $200, or it's $100 for most programs and $200 for sports, if they wanted to be in any extracurricular activities, be it band, be it dance, be it football, baseball, track, because the school systems are so broke.
Uh-huh.
So if your kid wants to participate, the parents have to come up with that money. Well, if you have got 2 kids in school, it's $100 a pop per sport. That's quite a chunk of change. You're looking at $1,000, $1,200 for them to participate in everything. So we take that back to start your business, hire your kids, and use their paycheck to pay for those types of activities.
Okay.
As opposed to just out of pocket, you might as well use it as a deduction and, do it that way.
What about home office? Now, I know a lot of people always hit on the home office expenses. Any big news that you can give somebody there?
Probably the biggest thing people miss in the home office deduction is they take the total square footage of their house because the realtor told them, it's a 2,000 square foot house, and my room's 200 square feet, so I'm going to take 10% of my allowable expenses. But if you read the tax code, it says you can measure each room, and you don't have to count common areas like hallways or staircases. So if you measure each room, you may find out that your home is only 1,800 square feet. So 200 from 1,800 is going to boost your percentage that's used for business. Consequently, you're going to get a bigger deduction for your other, your mortgage and all the other expenses you do with the office and the home.
Wow. Okay, so I know we're running out of time here, but I got to tell you, I think it'd be really fantastic if people get in touch with you and give us the URL of your website again, and give us your phone number so people can call you for advice or make an appointment or anything like that.
Okay. Again, our website is www.usaincometaxservices.com, or you can reach us toll free at 800-826-1365.
Okay, that's 800-826-1365?
Correct.
Okay. And it's Richard Lake with USA Income Tax Services in Chandler, Arizona, which is in part of Phoenix. Richard, I appreciate this, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. Thanks.
Thanks, Kirk. And folks, remember, you can hear more interviews with experts each week on the websites for experts, taxtutor.com, payclerk.com, and accountingpractitioner.com. Each week, Kirk interviews a leading accountancy expert, so be sure to tune in and get the latest tips and advice from your local expert. And be sure to visit taxtutor.com to find your nearest Tax Tutor network expert, payclerk.com for the best local payroll service providers, and accountingpractitioner.com for the best all-around accountancy experts. We'll see you next week.